Hi, I'm Bill Paris, an editor at Brooklyn Vegan, and you are listening to BV Interviews, which features conversations with some of our favorite artists. This week, we're talking to Swedish singer-songwriter José González, who just released his fifth album, Against the Dying of the Light. He's currently on tour in North America, and our conversation happened the day before it started in Boston. We discussed his new album and its somewhat apocalyptic themes, including AI, which you'll learn he has a more complicated relationship with than some do. We also talk about his use of distortion in his mostly acoustic music and how that will play out on this current tour, which is at rock clubs and not the usual seated theaters of his last few tours. He also tells us how his punk and post-hardcore youth continues to influence his music, what he listens to when he runs, the acclaimed video for his cover of The Knife's Heartbeats, and how he may be doing more covers in the future, and more. José's a thoughtful guy, and I really enjoyed our conversation. I hope you do too, so let's get into it. I'm pleased to have as my guest this week, José González, whose fifth album, Against the Dying of the Light, is out now via Mute and City Slang. He's on tour in North America as we speak. José, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
We're taping this on April 20th, which is one day before your tour actually starts in America, but it will go up the Monday after when you'll be in the midst of it. So you basically just landed?
Yeah, landed yesterday. Woke up at 3 a.m. this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, working on the jet lag, working on the set list for the first show, and feeling excited.
Did you fly directly into Boston?
Yeah, directly to Boston
Okay.
And today's a marathon, and yesterday was a robot run also. So, but I missed it with a couple of hours, I think.
Do you run or anything?
I run, but usually 5K. That's my favorite length. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got it. You said you're working on the set list. How much do you change things up every night?
Every night, almost nothing. So it's usually from album to album. I try out the favorite set list and then tweak on it, and then I usually feel like I got when it feels right, I settle with it. I've had fans that come to the shows and they know exactly what song I'll be playing, what I'll be saying between songs, and they used to tease me with it, and they still enjoyed coming to the shows. But this set list is very different from all the other ones, so it is. I'm putting a bit more effort than usual to get it right. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, things like Setlist FM make it very easy for you to see what artists do on different nights, and some who do change things more than others. But it was interesting. I was actually on Setlist FM today looking at your archives, and by a wide margin, you have played more shows in the U.S. than any other country. And I know the U.S. is huge and has more big cities, and so it's almost like this combining Europe or whatever. But that statistic was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, it is. It was surprising to me too. I think the short answer is that it's been Western Europe and US and Canada are basically same amounts. It used to be the first year when I released my first album, I toured only Sweden. And after that, it was like a bit of Norway, a bit of Denmark, and London. And then all of a sudden, I started touring all over the place. And I have two managers, one that deals with the world and the other one deals with the US and Canada, or the Americas, also South America. But yeah, as you said, US is a bit like Europe. So yeah, I've been here a lot, and there was a time when I felt like I've played more in North Carolina than I played in Argentina. I want to play South America, and so I had to sort of ask my managers to book Asia and even South Africa, and but yeah, nowadays it feels with every new album it feels right to do Europe and US, and then sort of follow up with Australia and some other places.
Gotcha. Do you remember your first US show? Was it in New York or somewhere else?
It was actually LA. It was a weird one. It was like a golf course, and they were giving a prize or like a medal to prominent Swedish actress, and we were there. So it was a weird first one. Since then, it's been I did some shows in New York that were really early too. So 2004, I think.
Right. I
yeah.
think I saw you either at Cake Shop or a place called the Living Room, I want to say.
Yeah.
Which must have been in that first few shows.
Yeah. Could be 2005 maybe, but yeah, that sounds familiar. And someone who knows would be Brian Long, my US manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, your US label was Hidden Agenda, which was a tiny offshoot of this mail order record store called Parasol, who released a lot of like obscure Swedish stuff. Like I was into like the Moon Babies and Peter, Bjorn and John back then. You know.
Yeah, it brings back memories because for me, it's been Mute forever. But before Mute, it was Hidden Agenda. Yeah, now that you say it, it rings a bell.
Yeah. You know, talking about playing those little shows, it's a big contrast from the size venues you play these days. I was trying to find some recent live footage of you, and I stumbled on like a show you did at the Sydney Opera House, which is huge.
Yeah, so I guess things have been changing for me in terms of type of venues that I've been able to play at, and something happened with the third, fourth album that I guess people that grew up with the first one, they were coming to the shows. So nowadays it's a very mixed audience, and it's a very stable audience. Many places where you have people in my age with their kids, and getting invited to these wonderful theaters has been like a nice part of my career to feel that I'm invited and I fill the rooms and people seem to be happy. So having that said, it's fun to mix things up. So on this tour, I'll be playing standing audiences with sort of rock PAs, and it is a type of show that once in a while when I do it, it feels really, it's a lot of fun. And usually people walk around, they go and buy a beer, and it's a different vibe from the seated theaters that are nice also, but more mellow, I would say.
Yeah, you're playing at Brooklyn Steel here in New York City, which is around like a 3,000 capacity rock club, where you know you get the medium-sized rock bands that come through town, and it's generally pretty loud. Does it change the way that you perform playing in a club like that?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, so I have this new single, A Perfect Storm, and that one was meant for rock PAs. When I play it in a smaller venue, it does something too, of course, but having access to big PAs that really changes the vibe, and it becomes very, very dramatic compared to my sort of the songs that people know me best with, heartbeats and crosses. And it's a style that I've been working on for decades now. That then when I used to do shows and end the show with Teardrop by Massive Attack, it went from being sort of a mellow and nice show, but with Teardrop, the dynamic just changed a lot, and the room just lit up. And volume-wise, it's a huge difference. So I've incorporated a couple of songs in that vein. So Down the Line and Teardrop, and now A Perfect Storm, and Schumann from the last album is also one of those loud ones. And it felt, for me, it felt like this album sort of needed that sort of show. And then at some other point, maybe in 5 years, I'll come back with an orchestra to a seated theater. But I want to do this. And one inspiring show was in Paris, where people seem to get the sort of Western African influences a lot. That's where I felt like I found my audience, the ones that liked both heartbeats and crosses, but also my sort of Western African inspired riffs.
The song that you were talking about, A Perfect Storm, people think of you as like just playing an acoustic guitar, but there's distortion on that, and on some of those like louder songs. It's an interesting style. How did you just sort of stumble into that?
Well, you could say that I stumbled into distortion when I was 14.
Okay.
So, and since then I never let go. So yeah, I used to play bass and scream, and distortion was part of the sound of hardcore music and punk, of course. But then when I started to record my solo stuff, actually the guy who recorded our hardcore band, he helped me to record this first single, the song, the one with Hints and Dead Weight on Velveteen, and I recorded on this tape cassette. And he sort of he was a fan of tape compression and tube distortion, and if you use it, you can capture the dynamics in a way that is very appealing to me. And instead of using compressors and limiters to keep the sound very clean, you use the distortion to sort of show that, okay, this was louder. So even if the volume isn't louder, something happens that crackles and gives the raw impression. And so yeah, I fell in love with the distortion and never let go.
Now, playing these bigger rock venues, it's still just you, right, on stage. I feel like the visual element to concerts has really like increased. Even bands that you wouldn't think are using, projections or video screens are doing so now. Have you felt like a pressure to do that as well? And what are you doing on this tour, if so?
Yeah, so there was, I mean, for me, the venues are bigger than usual. So there was a lot of talk, like, okay, what are you going to do to fill out the room? And I was like, I mean, I would do what I do, and you booked me to this big room. But having said that, we had a lot of discussions and ideas, and so basically, we landed on a style where we think about, if I'm alone on stage, just guitar and vocals, that's sort of like the classic singer-songwriter, bombastic singer-songwriter that I was talking about. In the same way, we think about lights, like trying to combine old school lights and having backdrops that are nice and beautiful, and we have some tricks up our sleeves to change the lighting. So nothing out of the ordinary. It's basically like knowing that people like classic stuff, and we talked about projections, and we've had projections, but there's people get used to projections, and then it's not impressive. So there's something about going back to basics, and you might, if you go to like Google José González and live photo or something, many times the favorite photos that people have of me playing is just me and one light, sort of very theatrical, very old school, very black and white. So that's basically what they're getting. But having said that, we have some tricks up our sleeves to keep things interesting for 70, 80 minutes. Yeah.
So the new album, Against the Dying of the Light, I think that light is a real pivotal word here, and with your music in general. This is a very heavy themed album, but the music and your style just sort of lets in elements of light. I think it's a nice balance. Even when the guitars are distorted, it still is a bright shard. Do you strive for that sort of mix of heavy, dark, and light and pop?
Yeah. I mean, for me, as my personality is, I am a very calm person, but I have this other side of enjoying very loud music, very sort of dramatic gestures. In a way, it wasn't easy to combine those two into an album, because something happens when you try to do it on an album, because you have that roof, you have the limit. But yeah, I decided to put A Perfect Storm first, because the songs that are soft, they almost sound louder. So I always want to, whenever I go into darker themes, I always want to end on a maybe not positive note, but different note from the first note. That goes for the songs in themselves and the album as a whole. It's where I change from just trying to make music that sounds good to make music that has a artistic element, like art, where I'm trying to convey a message that was that might lead to a surprise or to even disgust. So depending on the worldview.
The press notes that I got for this album were very detailed about the themes, including like there was a syllabus, almost like a reading list of things that you thought about when you were making the record. Can you sum up those themes for those of us who maybe didn't do their reading?
Yeah, it's meant as a documentation for me, and also a feeling that sometimes I have a lot of ideas for an album, and then it takes 3-5 years before some people get it. And it's not important that everyone gets it. It's just it felt right to write it down, since I had so many ideas and also so many references. So yeah, trying to sum it up, I always go with the title of the album and the song, Against the Dying of Light, where I'm thinking of two things. And the first one that followed me since the second album is the trying to write lyrics that push for humanism, for enlightenment values, against dogmatism, and sometimes against specific patriarchal, messianic belief world views. And that's been part of some of my lyrics since the second album, and they're, I guess, more overt now on this album. And then there's a second one that I guess is a bit newer. I touched upon the topic on Local Valley, but here it's upfront. It's the exponential technologies that might lead to our doom. So basically the similar type of topic, the doomsday scenarios, but in this case, like one that is based on research and experts putting their probabilities of existential risk. I think the main reference that I try to mention is Toby Ord, the Oxford philosopher, who did some research on the natural risks and came up to the estimation of 1 in 10,000 that we don't make it the next 100 years because of asteroids, supervolcanoes, pandemics. But then the human-made risks, they sum up to 1 in 6 that we don't make it the next 100 years. And when I read that book in 2020, The Precipice, it felt like something that we should do something about, try to collaborate, try to avoid nuclear wars, try to make sure we're prepared for human-made pandemics or avoid getting out that type of information to bad actors. And then the most present one is AI and the risk of creating a type of AI that is uncontrollable and where we as humans are obsolete. So that's
the Terminator's situation, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult to visualize what that would mean, and most of the experts they say that that's a distraction if you look at Terminators. But yeah, it's basically we're creating AGI that then might create more powerful AIs, super intelligence they talk about, and how to control that super intelligence is not easy and not something that anyone knows how to create and deploy in a safe way.
I think on Instagram, you called this album a collection of songs that I hope will age badly. I like that.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what to write for the press release, but that was my feeling. I was like thinking, what should I say about this? This is a couple of songs that are not timeless. I usually try to write songs that are timeless, but this is very sort of now and urgent, judging from many of the people in the field. Many of them are excited, of course, including me, with all the possibilities. So 5 and 6, we make it through the 100 years, and it's going to be amazing. And hopefully we solve sort of the most pressing problems quickly, and then the song will be like, oh, he was a Luddite, and they're going to say, and it was anti-technology, and then I'll be sort of laughing in my armchair, and I'm like, yeah, at least I was scared because people that knew better were also scared.
Yeah, well, let's hope for the best, I guess, and do something about it. You can't just hope.
Yeah, exactly.
You also described this album, I think maybe in that same Instagram post, as your most ambitious record and also the most transparent. Ambitious thematically or musically as well?
I think musically, I've always been pretty ambitious. I've always felt like I put my ambition level a bit too high, and then I sort of push myself to rehearse, and play and play and play, and yeah, it's so nowadays I'm 47. I know my limits a bit better, and I sort of allow myself to switch from being ambitious to being someone who accepts a take that wasn't perfect, but it had some character, and so musically, I feel like it's yeah, I'm okay as it is. But yeah, I guess what happened with the lyrics is that one of my new hobbies is to listen to books. I started listening to 1 times the speed, then 1.2, then 1.5, and now I'm up in 1.7, and all of a sudden it's fast. This goes fast, like, and it's so much fun. There's so many books out there, and that has sort of filtered into the lyrics. And many times it's about name dropping a concept in the middle of a sentence. So, but yeah, it's so the ambition level is not in terms of trying to explain stuff, but it is in terms of referring to a whole body of smart thinkers and smart sentences out there.
You were saying you feel like you know your limits as far as like musical ability and performance ability. And I was also wondering, you're playing these big places like the Sydney Opera House, and it's just you up on stage. Like, do you ever just feel the pressure, like, you're like, oh, I can't remember what the first chord is of this song or anything like that? Does that happen to you still?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I do is that I used to play classical guitar, and if I knew the song, if I had the music in my nervous system, I sat there and I was nervous, but then all of a sudden I just played it, and it sounded good. And I've been to so many shows where I see someone up there, and if it sounds good, you get relaxed. It's and also what I've noticed is that if you see someone that plays wrong and they just take their time to find their way, depending on who's playing. If it's a young person, it's usually endearing. I think for older persons or midlife persons, maybe it's not. Like, maybe I think he should rehearse more before he sits there and play. So it depends on the audience, of course. But in general, my audiences are very nice to me. So I do forget the sentences or like misplay some chord. They're very forgiving. So in my mind, I'm thinking, when I'm trying to play and I'm trying to write, I'm thinking about a classic guitarist that does everything perfect. But then comes reality, and I notice, I'm not there. And that goes for recordings and for live shows. And what I've seen is that when people hear a song they like, it's not, they fill out a lot in their minds. And
That's true.
It's an easier life if I allow myself to have some mistakes.
Yeah, I would say as a audience member, go to a show and I'll think, man, that was great. And if like maybe I'll know somebody in the band and they'll say, oh, I messed up. And I think most audience members don't even notice stuff like that unless it's something major,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, there was one live radio session in a church in Sweden. I forgot the lyrics, and it was I think it was like half a minute of awkward silence, and I tried like 3 times to find my way, and I just had to pick up my phone and find the lyric and played it with, and so I try to avoid that, but when it happened, it was it became a moment.
We've already talked a little bit about The Perfect Storm, which is the opening track on the album and is, at least partially about AI, if not entirely. AI is a very thorny subject, as I'm sure you know, especially in the creative community and in the entertainment industry. But before you were a famous indie guitarist musician, you went to school for biology and biochemistry, and I'm sure you think a lot about AI's potential in those areas. So maybe it's not as as black and white as it is for some people who comment on Instagram.
Yeah, now that I've released the album, I've released purely AI video for the song Pajarito that was meant to be very non-confrontative because it was just a Swedish archipelago and two birds flying around.
Right.
And noticing all the negative reactions to that. And then later now with A Perfect Storm, I'm in the video, but it's also the background is done with AI. And having seen that one got less bad reactions, but the reactions that are bad are really angry. So my take now that I'm here in the States and about to play, and I'm here in Boston, close to MIT, I think that people are overreacting to some things and underreacting to others. And so I think one part is the one that I mentioned, the one with extinction risk. That's the one where people should basically be out on the streets right now, everywhere, telling their politicians to, hey, you have to send whoever's the most powerful in the world to talk to the most powerful CEOs and China, and just like sit in a spa, figure this shit out. Yeah. So people are underreacting to the existential risks, and in my mind, they might be reacting properly or maybe overreacting to some stuff. So I'm not gonna say that much about that part. The part of how to relate, like if we have AI music played in a hotel lobby, am I gonna get angry? I'm probably just gonna shrug my shoulders and go outside. If someone makes a song with my style and starts releasing 10 albums in the José González style, I'll probably ask some lawyer to do something about it. And what else can I say? I can totally relate to the negative reactions, but that was sort of like part of the ambition with writing songs that are sort of alarming, I'm alarmed, so I'm thinking of the combination AI, biotechnology, terrorists, and yeah, not good at all. We should do something about that. And people are the levels of concerns go from extinction to catastrophic to huge job loss and social unrest to humanity losing purpose in life, and then like music, people just prompting music and flooding the charts with AI music. So it comes a bit further down in the levels of concerns, and that's where I feel like we probably figured it out in some ways, the part of how to manage the cultural landscape.
I have quite a few friends who are on the it's a very black and white thing to them, and they are very negative about it. Were you surprised by the blowback at all that you got?
Yeah, so the surprise from the first video, I was surprised. I knew this was a thorny topic. That's basically why I chose to to write about it and to have that video. But I was surprised on the amount, and I think that says something about the general public, but maybe also my audience. Knowing that, I mean, I played my acoustic guitar. I haven't switched to electric guitar. I haven't done the Bob Dylan, and they probably like it because it is authentic. It's it's a real human, and it's very sparse. So I think it says something about my audience. But no, so it's part of the discussion where I feel like what I didn't mention is that my excitement for AI is something that I need to mention. The excitement for, there are different types of AI. You have what people call tool AI or narrow AI, the one that drives you around, that will solve protein folding. I used to spend months and months and almost 2 years without not enough protein to try to figure out the 3D structure of it. That was pretty common 25 years ago, that a PhD student would spend years just to figure out the 3D structure of 1 or 2 proteins. And then comes AlphaFold and solves 240 million proteins in one go. And that will have amazing effects on people who try to solve diseases. So the excitement is is real. And I want to try to figure out a way to communicate this to the audience. You can't say everything is bad. We should ban all things AI. I think it's good to distinguish between different types of AI and between different ambitions. So you have the people who are trying to get to AGI as quick as possible. That should try to go to AGI as safe as possible. So that's my main thing. And how do I communicate my sort of fear without being someone who's anti all things AI? And that's why I chose to do the AI videos. But I am on the side of I think we should have a stamp if there's a AI that pretends to be a real human. There should be some watermark at least. There should be people should know what they're watching and hearing, especially if you think about misinformation. And then, of course, there's the issue that I think some of my labels are thinking of. These big AI models, they've been trained on everything, including my music.
Right.
Their whole catalogs are in there, including and who's getting paid.
Yep.
So of course I'm all for people getting angry and also trying to figure out a way to navigate this in a sort of fair way. But I most of my time I'm spending on a different level. So I'm thinking similar to Wikipedia. Like I was extremely excited with Wikipedia, and all of a sudden you have a democratization of encyclopedias. Similar, you can say something similar about the whole of humanity writing stuff for thousands of years, and all of a sudden you can talk to it. You can talk to these texts. So you can talk to. It's crazy in a good way. I see, and so I wouldn't want to go back to the past where you couldn't do that. So most of my time I'm spending more on the sort of philosophical and fun part, and not so much in the details. And so I'm not booing the people who are concerned about the details. It's just not where I am most of the time.
I will say A Perfect Storm video, I saw a little like the behind the scenes stuff that you've posted. It was a big production, and you were on what they call it like a volume. Is that right? The same thing that the Mandalorian films on. So it's a set that has these giant HD screens everywhere. What was that like?
It was fun. I mean, so in my mind, I was thinking of a video. Thought about myself on a bus, and my mind was like, oh yeah, that's what you do with the green screen. So I'm just gonna sit and play in front of green screen, and then we just solve everything else with AI. And they were like, no, that's not how we do it nowadays. We do it in a 360 studio. And there's one nearby Gothenburg in Trollhättan, and there was another one in Copenhagen. So we checked out with Copenhagen, and we got to be there in a full day. And basically what they do is they create videos for 360, and they play them there, and you're sitting in the middle of that hall, and it looks pretty real in some scenes. So that was fun, and it was extremely expensive. So it's the most expensive video I've done, as the most people that worked on it. So that's, I think, counter argument to people who are thinking of salaries, about job loss. To create that video, it was actually more people and more money than usual that went to salaries. So yeah, that's in my mind, when I see the comments, I have lots of counter arguments. I don't spend my time answering them, but I think about them. And one of the counter arguments is like, okay, imagine having a bus and actually like driving that bus off a cliff to get a really good stunt footage. Just doing things like properly with the same content. It's a new tool to make your imagination come to life. And
I was going to ask if it was even more expensive than the Heartbeats video, but that wasn't really. That was a commercial, right? It was a commercial for Sony or something. I can't remember what it was for.
Exactly. So the video that we did was I don't know, $500, I think, and yeah, no one really remembers that one. Andreas Nilsson made it. He's a famous guy right now, but back then he was cheap and made it for the Knife. He did their video. For mine, it was a different version. But yeah, anyway, yeah, the one in San Francisco, that one was I think one of the big ones, like around the time that commercials started to cost a lot, and they had really ambitious setups. And in this case, it was 250,000 colored balls dropped down. No CGI. It was all real.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very memorable video, and it was also a very early viral video. I remember somebody emailing it to me, and I think that's maybe where I first heard you. I'm not positive, but I bet that happened to a lot of people.
No, so if you were at one of those shows in New York, then you probably, because that advert was later. That was
okay.
2005-06.
Oh, all right.
And it was released in some countries, but not the US actually. So in the US, people found it through YouTube, I think. So the places where they actually showed the video, UK, Ireland, Australia, those places I had the best, what do you say, career explosion.
Right. More on A Perfect Storm. You also say that quicksand is an influence on the song. And I guess we talked a little bit about that, saying that I've liked distortion since I was 14, but maybe can you elaborate on the specific quicksand influence on that song?
Yeah, I mean, it was more about having that riff. I had it for a while, and initially with only the riff, no vocals, it sounded like a battle song, a song called Atlas. But then when I started writing the lyrics and trying out vocals, it just reminded me of quicksand. There was something about the way of singing that I sort of, I guess, embraced in a way. So I pushed myself towards that direction a bit. Of course, people that enjoy quicksand, they feel like this doesn't sound like them at all. But in my mind, it reminded me of them, and I was a huge fan of them. We used to listen to sort of the Sick of It All, 108, the straight edge hardcore, metal hardcore. But then there was this switch towards more melodic post-hardcore, some people call it. And quicksand was definitely one of my favorites. And there's something about having sort of shouty vocals, but it's still melodic. And in their case, pretty loud music. In my case, loud Spanish guitar. And I usually mention one more thing that I remember, like an influence, Porno for Pyrus. Like while I was writing and singing, it reminded me a bit of Porno for Pyrus too.
Oh, okay. Do you still listen to some heavy music? I
had a very long break, but then I started to run. Part of my project the last 10-15 years has been to try to be very healthy. So there's if you only run in one pace, it's good. But if you can switch around the types of training that you do, it's even better. So there's the Norwegian 4x4, where you have 4 minutes of very high intensity and 4 minutes of low intensity. And I made a playlist with extremely energetic songs, followed by low energy songs. And for that list, it's perfect with 108 and with the Bronx. But also some flamenco songs can be really energetic too.
Okay.
Mixed up with Nina Simone or something else softer in between.
Is your running playlist published anywhere? Can you find it on your...
I can send it to you if you want.
Okay.
It could be fun.
So your tour starts tomorrow. You've played a few shows in Europe, right? In last month, maybe?
Yeah. I did some PR. So in those PR days, I also did some sort of smaller shows. So I've been trying out some of the songs. So
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song to play live off the new record?
Yeah, I mean, apart from A Perfect Storm, one that I really enjoy playing is the last one, Joy. So in a way, I allowed myself to go back to my sort of bossa nova roots, and I wrote the chord progression has got all these jazzy chords, and that one was it feels like it sums up the album too. Like I used different AI models to help me write that lyric as an experiment, and they were really crappy up until ChatGPT 4.5, and then I used it to prompt like 20 versions of lyrics, and I did some editing, and I wrote some of my own lines, and eye-opening, I have to say, because the thing that I've talked about for many years is that I'm really slow at writing lyrics. Nowadays, I'm actually not that slow, but I wanted to figure out if there was, just like Elton John had his, guy who he wrote.
Bernie Taupin.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I felt like I want to have that sort of person in my life, but I don't like to collaborate. I like to do stuff on my own. And so I used AI as a text assistant. I wrote down the demo, I had the melody, I knew how many syllables I wanted in each line, I knew where the rhymes should be, I knew what the verses should be about. It actually worked. Like the poems were decent and they fit the music perfectly. So it was crap until it wasn't. And then the lyrics with we're still primates who can't help but sing. So whatever happens in terms of our exponential technology, modern times, turbulent times, we'll still have our humanity. We'll still want to meet people. We'll still want to dance, sing, eat food with each other. So I'm in that sense, I'm not that concerned as long as we don't make ourselves obsolete.
Right. You got noticed early on for your covers. We mentioned The Knife's Heartbeats and obviously Massive Attack's Teardrop. Very huge early songs for you, but you haven't done covers in a long time. Do you ever just hear a song somewhere and be like, that would actually be pretty cool for my style?
Yeah. It's something that I used to do a lot with Junip. We did that when we were invited to play at the film festival 2 times a day, 5 days in a row, and we're like, oh fuck, we need more songs. So that's when we sort of started to pick out songs, Joy Division and Low and Bruce Springsteen and and then for me later Kylie Minogue, The Knife, and then I stopped. So I did add one cover on the last one with Lale and Stund på jorden, a song that was about death and reconciling with the fact of death. Mm-hmm. And it was a type of lyric that I felt I couldn't write, so that felt like a song that was needed for the album. And for this album, I didn't have any covers, but now I feel tempted to find a cover because I felt like the reactions to the singles have been underwhelming. And I kind of like my level of lifestyle. So it is very tempting to see what's on the charts and see if one of those songs could make it to a live set list and maybe a B-side. But so far I've stayed away. I feel like I have too much to say with my own songs, but who knows?
Okay.
I mean, so there is this part of me that I really enjoy covers. I listen to Nina Simone a lot, and many of her songs are written by other people. But yeah, I feel like it's almost like taking the easy way out. At least
I understand
this year.
Yeah, but I will say you are a great interpreter of other people's songs, so it's not really taking the easy way out. I don't think.
No. Of course. I mean, thank you. I was a huge fan of how Cat Power did her covers. So Johnny Cash did his covers. Mm-hmm. And that was done beautifully. And I think you can choose carefully, and you have that artistic intent by choosing something that's very different from your own. I look forward to growing old with more covers and mm-hmm. lots of covers.
Okay. I think that's going to just about wrap this up. Is there anything else we should know? I know you started a Substack recently.
Yeah, I want to I want to be healthy. So I spend my time running, sleeping, and other stuff that's good for your body and mind. But one thing that I haven't done that I've known is good for you, and is to write. If you write, you think better. So that's why I felt like, okay, if I'm doing these documents with all the references, maybe I should also try to write something. So it's very humble in a way, because I don't put that many words down, but I've done 2 posts, I think, and but I look forward to write more and have that as like the place where if people want to know more, they can go there. So Instagram is more for pictures and promotion and light stuff, and for the thoughts, there's a post on AI and how to think about sort of this difficult topic.
What's the address for your Substack? Is it just josegonzalez.substack.com or?
It's at Joga Goga. Joga Goga,
Okay.
which is José González, José Gabriel González Garcia. Joga Goga.
All right. And I'll put a link to your Substack in the podcast description too, in case people can't follow along with that.
Yeah.
We end our interviews by asking our guest to name 5 records that they think everyone should own. And I'll maybe, since we were talking about punk and post-hardcore, maybe you could do something in that world.
Sure. Maybe Sick of It All, Scratch the Surface. It's a classic. Step Down is a sort of hardcore classic. Let's see, what else? Quicksand. Let's see, which album has A Thorn in My Side? I can't remember the name of the album, but that's a classic too.
Okay. Putting you on the spot here. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Not sure what to choose next.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe the 108. The first song is called Invocation. That's more like the sort of loudest, most dramatic song I know. The one that really like pushes me to run fastest.
It could even just be artists if you didn't want to pick an album.
Yeah. Because I mean, it says something about me. I don't collect albums. I always had friends that collected albums.
Okay.
So I'm more like a songs guy. But of course, Misfits needs to be there. I used to the first band that we played. We were into Misfits and Gigi Allen and some other bands. But Misfits is still like a evergreen.
Okay.
Band. Die My Darling is one of those songs. 4, I guess. Just to like keep things a bit varied. Le Tigre with what's the name of that song?
Decepticon or?
Yeah, Decepticon. We used to listen to that song a lot before going out to clubs. It's a great sort of feminist punk classic.
Yeah. Electric Clash or whatever, I think they were part of that scene.
Yeah,
so.
I guess that's the style.
Yeah. Did we hit 5
maybe.
or is there?
I think so. It wasn't 5 albums, but yeah, mentioning 5 artists and some songs.
All right, sounds good. Jose, thanks so much for making time out of your day. I know you just got here, you're a little jet lagged, but good luck.
It was fun talking. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very nice.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And have a good one. All right.
Yeah. Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again to José González for being on this week's show. His new album, Against the Dying of the Light, is out via Mute Records, and be sure to catch him. Okay, thanks again to José González for being on this week's show. His new album, Against the Dying of the Light, is out now via Mute Records, and be sure to catch him when his current tour hits a city near you. While I have you, be sure to check out our other podcast, BV Weekly, where my co-workers Dave and Andrew, and occasionally myself and Amanda, discuss the week's hot button music news, the latest releases, and more. You can also follow Brooklyn Vegan on social media, and if you like this episode, be sure to tell your musically minded friends about it, as well as, do all those other things, like, subscribe, write us a review, give us 5 stars, all that kind of stuff. It really does help us reach more ears. Big thanks to our mix engineer Nick Gray and Michael Silverstein for the theme music. I'm Bill Paris. Thanks for listening.